Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, one of the thing is a revolution. Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off. No nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
Back at you, Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with one of our leaders of our community and have a great friend, former city council, Charlie SanMiguel. How we doing, Charlie? You doing good?
Hey, thank you, Paul. Really good to be here with you, and thank God you asked how I'm doing. I'm doing a lot better. I can breathe. I can take deep breaths, and it doesn't hurt. I had COVID a couple of months ago, and it's rough, man. It gets rough. Thank God there's some people that are asymptomatic, a very small percentage, and other people affect some differently. You know what I've seen, Paul, is that, it either affects you two different ways, right? Either it goes after your lungs and you get the pneumonia, or it affects your GI tract, your gastrointestinal, where there's a lot of diarrhea, a lot of vomiting. But if you got that one, then chances are of it affecting your lungs is very small. What I've seen with my employees, with my friends and family, if you got the strain that affects your GI tract, then you're much better off. But when it goes after your lungs, man, it's tough. And my recommendation to people, brother, is just have good communication with your healthcare providers. Months back, like 4 or 5 months ago, I reached out to my Dr. Carlos Ornedo, did a great job, him and all his team, and also at Laredo Medical Center, man, that emergency room. There's some people there that are just amazing, all my heroes. Yoli Siebert, Dr. Ornedo, all these people, man, really my personal heroes. I feel like they saved my life. But it's important that you start treatment immediately. Like, don't wait. If you know, especially if you know you've been exposed to somebody that's already positive, then you immediately start checking your look for symptoms, check your blood pressure, check your temperature. I didn't mean blood pressure, I meant temperature. I have to check my blood pressure every day, that's why it's blood pressure. And make sure check your temperature. And if you get a slight fever, because a lot of people will say, well, it's a light fever, it's not very high, thinking I don't have anything. No, that's really what it is. On a Sunday, I got my first symptom of fever. It was a low fever, but it was only for like 7-8 hours. I get tested Monday, the day after, negative. Well, it doesn't say negative, it says could not detect, right? So I went a few days without fever. Wednesday, I started my fever again. And it's a low to not high fever, maybe like 100. And then that Wednesday, it ran longer. Like a Sunday, I only had it for like 7-8 hours. That Wednesday was longer. Went through Thursday. Thursday, I got tested, I was positive. But fortunately is that when I spoke to my doctor months ago, I said, hey doc, if I get COVID, what are we gonna do? And he said, we're gonna give you this is a cocktail, man. I said, great, you're prepared. Because I've heard of some doctors out there that are of the mentality that if I'm not gonna give you anything because you know what? It's a virus. There's nothing that's gonna kill the virus. So I'm not gonna give you anything. And I don't agree with that. I'm not, an expert like they are, but just common sense will tell me you want to protect the organs like the lungs. If they're going to be attacked by COVID, you want to give them a fighting chance, right? And so some doctors will prescribe right off the bat Z-Pak, azithromycin. Boom, I did a 3-day dose, ended up doing 2 of them, 500 milligrams for 3 days. And so that helps your lungs. Other things, ivermectin, colchicine, Pepsid, all these other things that are helping you're trying to slow down the virus and give your lungs a fighting chance is what it is. And so I tell people, if you get it, start treatment right away. Don't wait, man. Don't wait. I mentioned, these heroes that I feel like they saved my life. On a Monday, I started to feel that I had the pneumonia. And sure enough, I went in and got CT scan, and I had the COVID pneumonia, but it wasn't, thank God, it wasn't bad enough. I was like at 15%, whatever that means. to be admitted into the hospital. And so a few days later, I'm feeling like, hey man, this is getting worse. I'm getting really concerned. So I went in Thanksgiving Day actually, and I got the monoclonal antibodies, brother. Amazing. Like, this is all experimental stuff, so sign a waiver. I'll sign whatever. The way I'm going, at this rate, I need to take that, right? I need that. And the public needs it. I say that because I just read a report from a few days ago that a lot of hospitals have the monoclonal antibodies, but some of the healthcare providers don't feel comfortable. That's not the case in Laredo. Laredo's doing a great job. But in other cities, they don't feel comfortable because there's not enough studies with these monoclonal antibodies. But if you're in that situation where you feel that you're going to progress, or you might progress, or you're progressing to where you might not be able to get a point to where there's no coming back, there's so much damage to your lungs, then there's a chance that you're not going to. And it's horrible. We lost my concuño a couple of weeks ago. It was a horrible situation. I feel that had he gotten treatment a little earlier, like from the very beginning, I think he would have still been with us. But God's will.
Understood.
But yeah. But so it's important that people know they got to get their treatment early on. And furthermore, you can't wait till you're too sick, because if your oxygen levels drop too low, they can't give you the monoclonal antibodies. And those monoclonals, the same stuff that Trump got.
Sure.
I got it Thursday, Friday morning. I woke up, I felt better already. One day. Saturday, I felt great, just that my lungs still hurt when I would breathe because of the damage that COVID had done.
Brother, I'm so glad to see you here, and my condolences to your concuño.
Thank you.
And we've lost a lot of friends and a lot of people that we know here in Laredo and throughout, and usually it took those that already had a problem. They were not as healthy as they thought they were. So I'm all for health, and I'm all for let's be precaution and all the precautionary statuses that go along with it, right?
Right.
I think we have excellent doctors.
Yeah, we do. No doubt.
Here in Laredo, I've always said that, not because my father's one, but because of that nature of
we're a
how
close-knit family also.
So
there's that compassion that comes naturally in a family.
Absolutely. But what we need to do is understand that there's other medicines out there, and understand, like what you did, that we have those options. And if we tell the physician, I want it, he better say, what, let's go.
Oh man, what a good point, Paulie. It's so new. A lot of the primary healthcare providers aren't aware. I saw the news. Our governor, Greg Abbott, came on and said, hey, those monoclonal antibodies that our president received, they're available all across the state. All across the state. So I texted my doctor, and he looked into it and said, sure, it's available here in town, Charlie. And so they started to work with the hospital, and it just made a big difference, but they're out there. And so a big part of why some of the people at the higher levels are disappointed at how they're not using it. Some of the healthcare providers are not using it as much as they should. It's because it's so new. It's so new. And so there's a lot of things that if we know, we can share it with our doctors, and they're on it, and they do their research, and for the most part, they're on it. I mean, I can tell you, I'm very proud, very happy with the care I was given. I was very, very fortunate.
And this right here has affected the whole world.
Yeah.
And people don't want to say that it came from a certain area, and they changed the name from Wuhan flu to COVID to coronavirus, and it's continually changing. This was a direct attack.
Absolutely.
And it's an attack on everybody.
It is. We need to be honest with ourselves. I mean, come on. Why do we need to spin it and make everything political? Let's just stay neutral, Look at the facts. Where did it come from? Why in the heck would this lab manipulate this virus to where it was more contagious, stronger? Why? Okay, I can understand you're in that field, you're excited, you found a new virus, like 15, 18 years ago, whenever they found it. And they studied it. Okay, well, get the genome sequence on it. You've got all the information. Then so if it comes out and there's an outbreak, you know how to attack it, how to beat it. You know what it is. And then you know what I say after that? Once you got all that information, destroy it. Why do you want to keep it in your lab? Well, we know why. Look at what's happened to at the global level, to the whole world. But we just need to be honest with ourselves. But even if we were to say, forget that. Forget the COVID, although we can't because there's millions of people that have lost their lives. But even if we just say, forget that, look at China. I mean, we are rightfully so horrified at the slavery that we had in this country. It's an amazing country. There were some horrible things that have happened, but it's still a great country because there were American citizens that fought, gave their lives so to abolish slavery. We have to recognize that too, not just the bad, but the good, right? And so if we just look at that and we're disgusted that it happened here 150, 200 years ago, and any injustice here in the States, we're disgusted. Oh, brother, right now in China, there's slave labor. Well, you know, you'll see the media call it forced labor. What's forced labor?
It's the same
It's
thing.
slavery. They just don't want to call it slavery. Forced child labor. What's that? Forced child labor? No, it's forced slavery on children. That's happening right now. But we look the other way. And everything, we go to the store, almost everything that we're buying was made in China. We're sending all our money to them. We're building up that Chinese Communist Party to be like a mega powerhouse. We're doing it. Why? Because our elected officials have sold out. Brother, they've sold out. And they're taking all kinds of money for their campaigns, for them to get reelected, to have power, and whatever else it is. But, I mean, there's some atrocities going on in China. I mean, you've got, of course, the forced labor, the slavery. There's slaves going on right now in China. You've got the forced abortions, forced sterilizations, forced sex slaves. I mean, it's just horrible what's going on in China. I was watching EWTN maybe a couple of months ago, and there was a couple there that had over their life had adopted 18. They had maybe 3 or 4 of their own, and then adopted 18 children. Mm-hmm. The last child that they had adopted, brother, was out of China, because they had looked into. It was very difficult for them to get this done, but they were looking into the orphanages in China, and it's just horrible what these children go through. At age 14, they kick them out. You just go find a way to make a living. But what was horrible, and I couldn't believe my ears, is that there's the black market, with harvesting organs.
No, of course.
With these children, brother. And it was so horrible that they wouldn't even waste money on anesthesia to put these children to sleep. They would break their backs, okay, and harvest their organs. I mean, how horrible is that? There's no human rights at all. They don't recognize the way this regime, this Chinese Communist Party sees a human being. They don't see a human being like we see a human being. We see the dignity of a human being, a person created in the image and likeness of God. They don't see that. They see a tool. They see a hammer. They see a screwdriver, something I can use to get something done. That's China. Why are we doing so much? Why is there so much business with China? Frustrates me. It really frustrates me. It aggravates me that, like I said, go to the store. Almost everything made in China. I was trying to buy some blue jeans the other day. Everything, made in China. So I'm trying to make it a point. Whenever I'm trying to buy something, I look for made in the USA, because we really need to keep our monies here. But I'm just really disgusted at how we've done that. We need to find a way to quit sending our money that way.
No, you're absolutely correct. Listen, the best saying was, "Let's make America great again." There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing.
The United States is #1 in the world, okay, and in many things. So it's a country that's why everybody wants to come here and immigrate here, because it's just a beautiful country to live in. People talk about racism. It exists, but it's not as bad as the media makes it sound to be.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct.
But so when you start looking, and when you go abroad and you travel abroad and you see other countries, you see the admiration they have of the United States, and you also see the actual jealousy they have on Americans for living inside the United States. Yeah. And until
we're that city on the hill.
Yeah. And until we understand that, then I think we can move forward. The problem that I see now is with everything going on. This year has just been confusion, but it opened the eyes to many people.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, we hope it did. Because the media does a great job of just covering it up, and
it reassured those that knew things were going on, and it opened the eyes of others, and it kept the others blind. That's what it did. So now we have a group there that are now watching, that just kind of woke up. And I take it to the elections. Okay, you've run campaigns, and you've been in campaigns, and everybody here in Webb County always says, there's harvesting of votes, there's mail fraud. There's all kinds of stuff. We've always heard about it. We've kind of understood that it's there, but this election reassured it.
Oh my God! You one person, one vote, right? You just mentioned that the United States was that country that the whole world looked towards. We were the gold standard for elections. It was so secure and safe, and if there was talk of some fraud, it was maybe very little. But it's getting to a point where, and we need to be careful, we need to pray about this, that we don't get to a point where, about 28 years ago, not 30 years ago, I was taking some classes at La Universidad de Monterrey, La UDEM. And I remember in one of the classes there, our professor said, if there's any person that's an elected official in Mexico, a politician, he's corrupt. They say he's corrupt. And I remember one of my classmates, his dad was an elected official, and he's like, hey, he said, well, I'm not wanting to offend anybody, but it's a fact. There's no way you can get into office if you're not corrupt, the way things are going on. And brother, I pray that does not happen here, that people pick up on, oh, this is how I can beat the system. Mail-in ballots. We've got some counties throughout the country that can't reconcile the numbers. But okay, what does that mean? So let's say, and I'm just throwing numbers out, let's say they mailed out 10,000 mail-in ballots in a county. Well, how many did they get back? 15,000, 20,000 mail-in ballots. Where'd they all come from? They don't know, but they only sent out 10,000 and got back a lot more. How does that happen? But then what's the remedy, Paulie? What's the remedy? There's no remedy, because once they're in the box, which ones do you pull out? That's why the judges are going crazy all across the country right now. Like, there's no remedy. Once the ballots are in the box, we cannot deny you your vote, or that person that vote, or that person their vote. You can't deny it. How do you know? Once they're all mixed in the boxes, which ones do you pull out? You can't. And so I don't want for that to be so commonplace that really corrupt people, the corruption is going to dictate the winner. Who can be more corrupt? In other words, like what this professor was saying in Mexico, the one that's more corrupt is the one that wins. And that's why they're there. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to I don't care what side you're on, right? But we do not want to get to where whoever's more corrupt is going to win. Because some people will tell me, well, the other side could have done it too. No, that's not the point. That's not the point. That the other side could do it too. No. We need to have one person, one vote. Because why? Because then we don't represent the people properly. Right? It's just going to be a select group. And who's going to get represented most? The corrupt.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones beating the system. And we don't want to get to that point.
And you see, you're absolutely correct. And you see newspapers, so-and-so got caught with voter fraud. So-and-so got caught with election fraud. So-and-so did this and changed signatures. Or it's the same signature for all these other votes.
People voted.
And then you're like, but what happened to the person?
What are the penalties?
They went to court. But what happened to
her?
Did she get punished? Did she go to jail?
Exactly.
Because that's the only way you're going to fix it.
Exactly.
The instant somebody goes to jail, everybody's going to say, oh, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, what are the penalties? That's right.
Understand
Now, this country is great about that, about doing that, right? The only thing is that's an area that we need a lot of improvement, because it doesn't seem like there's any teeth to it. There are no penalties to doing all this fraud. You hear of, I don't know if the numbers are still correct, there might be more now, but people that receive ballots in their home state and where they used to live in another state, 4 million people received them in two separate places. There was a gentleman on TV being interviewed. He's like, I live in Jersey. My daughter, I forget exactly what. I have a daughter in Texas, a daughter in Florida, and another one in Connecticut. Here at home in Jersey, I received their ballots, mine and my wife, and 3 more for my daughters. Well, my daughters also received their ballots in Florida, in Texas, and in Connecticut. They voted over there. He's like, who was to keep me from filling out their ballots and submitting them? When I saw the mass mail-outs going, months back, certain governors were saying, well, because of COVID, we're just going to do a mass. Whoever's a registered voter is going to get the ballots. I thought, oh my God. Being involved a little bit in elections, I've seen it. I've seen where people harvest. You've got some people, and yes, they'll come and they'll harvest 300, 400, 500 ballots for you, and they're for sale. I'm not going to have any part of that. But there are people that, and there's not just one person there's a lot of people that harvest ballots, brother.
And
it's so sad. Because that's not democracy.
And they go to candidate to candidate, candidate to candidate, and you see them.
They go for the highest bidder.
And you've seen them. You've been around campaigns, and you see them walking around, and you're like,
yeah, it's not good.
And I lost faith. Now, this one, I lost faith in our election system. I told myself,
No, we can't lose faith.
You know what? From now on,
it's a great country. We have a great foundation. Our founding fathers were amazing. Our Constitution is so solid, brother, that I have faith and confidence. And you know what? Even though there's corruption out there, we know it, we see it. They just can't. There's no remedy for it right now at this point. But I have faith in man and woman. I have faith. There's good. There's good in everybody, no doubt. There's good in everybody, and I think obviously good's going to prevail. It's going to be tough right now, but we need to get it right. We need to again be that gold standard for elections that the whole world used to look at. Man, why can't we be like the United States? At this point, how many people do you think are saying that? I mean, it goes back 4 years ago when we were saying that. Well, Russia was involved with the elections here, and they influenced it, and it was investigated. A lot of money, a lot of time went into that. We don't like for anybody to be messing with. To be influencing our elections like that. And so we look at now. We need to learn from all of these things that have been happening, and we need to actually have Congress, implement, laws that are upheld obviously by the Supreme Court, but that have teeth. They need to have teeth. Hey, man, our technology right now. You think we can't vote through the computer? I mean, retinal scans. Fingerprints. But do they want it? Is the other thing. And that way you'll get one man, one woman, one vote. One person, one vote. Right?
Why don't they want to change it? Probably this has been going on, not just this election, has been going on for many elections.
Yeah.
We just never saw it until this election that it was thrown out in everybody's face. So this is something that if they know that's there, more likely they've probably already used it. They've gone through it somewhere or another, and they're going to say, wait a minute, that means that I'm not going to be here because if I do put teeth on these people, these are the people that were in my campaign. Yeah. That's the way I'm looking at it because they don't want to do anything about it.
Right.
So one way or another, your professor over there might be right.
Well,
on the big mass scale, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let's hope and pray that doesn't become the norm here in the States. I think there's enough in our Constitution that our founding fathers left there, and with a wise, fair Supreme Court, I think we can fix all that. But it's going to take work, and then do they want to work? Because then if all these people are already in power, are they going to want to pass it?
That's what I'm saying. What needs to happen? We need checks and balances. And I'm not saying for people to go out there and not vote. I just lost faith in our election systems throughout. I just look at it in a different format. And we need to have some kind of checks and balances for those people that are committing fraud to get penalized, for them to be punished for what they've done, because they've taken how can I say, the liberties of many.
Yeah.
And they've changed it in a different outcome, and that's not the way it should be done. You've been in politics. You were a great city councilman, not because when you were here, because you all did a lot when you guys were there.
Well, praise God.
And there's a difference between people say, and there's groups out there that claim, the Gang of Four and the Terrible Five and the Horrible, I don't know, whatever they call them, the different names that go out there. Listen, when you're in there, you have to work with, you know what I'm saying? You have to go in there.
Great point. See, those people that are doing that, they're acting as watchdogs. They're fight dogs.
They're attack dogs.
They're attack dogs. They're not watchdogs.
They're not fight dogs.
Yeah, they're attack dogs. They're not watchdogs because they have their agenda. If you look at a lot of these people that have done that, most of them have ran for office.
At one point or another.
At one point or another. Or their candidate, like they have their candidate that they want to put in. And so they'll smear all these other people, lie about them, make up things, have truths and whatnot, so they can try and get in office.
Absolutely.
And if you look at everything that they've done, it's been a disservice to our community. Because in spite of looking at all the great things that a lot of our elected officials have done, they're masking that with things that they want to make look bad because they want to get into office or they want to get their buddy in office. And when you have an activist go into office or run for office,
No longer an activist.
Well, they're going to remain activists, brother, but now they're just going to serve their agenda. Whatever they're an activist, if it's, let's say it's the tree, save all the trees, then all they're going to be focused on is the tree. But how many issues? We would get like 50, 60, 70 issues come before council every meeting. And if your focus is just, let's say the tree, don't get me wrong, I love trees. Part of God's creation, I love trees, right? But if it's just that one thing, that's what you're an activist about, that's what you're going to be focused on. And then you're not serving the public as a whole, in general. So when activists try to run for office, it's not a good thing because you need to serve everyone. I mean, you need to serve the environmentalists, and you need to also serve the developers and the builders and the contractors, and you need to find a way to balance all that. Okay, and if you're just there to serve one, let's say you're just there to serve the developers, it's not good either because you totally forget about the environmentalists. Okay, so you need to really be able to balance everything out. And if you go in as an activist, because that's what you are in your core, it's going to be really hard to change once you're in. Okay, it's really difficult to do. And I've seen a lot of these people try to do that, and the way they try to go about certain things, claiming everybody's corrupt and everything else, and I look at what they're doing and why they're saying it, but I know what they're up to. They're just trying to smear somebody so they can get into office or their buddy can get into office.
Absolutely. No, and we've seen it time after time, and we saw it in this past election. And let me put it to you this way. Laredo is in a little different niche.
Yeah, we are. We're awesome.
And we've had parts of the city that work. There's a section of the city that continues working here while you have the public elected official over here. But these people are doing whatever they want. This section inside the city. And the public official, the city councilman, says, you know what, there's something wrong with this over here, check it out in the department. Oh yeah, we'll check it out. And they continue doing whatever they want. And this continue doing whatever it want has become very Machiavellian. And they go after people, they go after people's businesses, because they have their own agenda. Just like those activists, they have their own agenda.
Those activists are Machiavellian in nature.
Absolutely.
But the end justifies the means. They can do all kinds of evil. As long as they accomplish what they want to accomplish, then they're good. It's okay. Sure. It doesn't matter. All the evil and harm that they've caused to people, all the lying and whatnot, it's okay because that's Machiavellian. So they accomplish what they want to accomplish. And there's a lot of people out there that are trying to get into office, and that's what they're doing.
Yep. And you're going to see it next time around. You're going to see a lot more from the certain attack group that's here. You're going to throw more people out there. Yeah. But nonetheless, we the people still put some people down. So that's what matters. But we have to educate them. We have to educate our public, and we need people out there that are going to be trustworthy.
Right.
And I think, I was talking to one of the candidates, and he says, there's no way I can compete against people that have 250,000 running, 300,000 running for an office that's only pays 60,000. If in 4 years, that's what, $240,000, and they've already spent 350,000 just for the election. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The money doesn't add up somewhere along the line. It just kind of doesn't add up. Either you're a bad business person, or there's something there that you're going after that it's going to be a lot more than 300 and something.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out numbers.
Sure.
But so they said, is there any way we can do a cap? And I go, Chicago has that with some of the aldermen.
Oh, I didn't realize.
There's a cap, 50,000. Everybody 50,000. That's as much as you can use.
Wow.
Or whatever it is. I'm just throwing out a number.
Sure.
It might be 100,000. Who knows how much it is? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's just a cap.
It's a good idea.
Going.
But it kind of goes against our nature of freedom.
Sure.
So I think if somebody wants to put that, whatever amount of money they want to put into it, then that just tells the other guy, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to hustle more. It sounds like a good idea, but when we're limiting our freedom, I think that's where we got to be careful. Sure. Because then it becomes, you see everybody pushing it more, either to the right or to the left. They be pushing more. Well, that person did this. Well, I'm going to do this more. I'm going to go a little further more. I'm going to go a little further more. This guy, oh my God. Then it becomes something that is just ridiculous. Look at, for example, what New York did with abortion. Man, they just kept pushing it and pushing it. This well, I'm more liberal. I'm more liberal. I'm more liberal. And now it's like after birth you can kill them. Oh my God, what are we talking about? You know, we need to recognize when something's wrong. When it's evil, it's evil.
Absolutely.
And that's coming from a very imperfect person, me. Okay? But at the very least, we need to be able to recognize when something's wrong. If we can't fight for this small defenseless child, my God, I mean, come on. What are we doing? You know, that's just something.
I just read something that now they're something federal. They're not trying to change the term to birth person.
Oh my God.
You're no longer a mother, you're a birth person.
Yeah.
And you're like,
no.
You're a birth person. What does that mean, birth person?
Yeah.
Within a harvest?
Yeah,
But I mean, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying?
That's ridiculous. How that's gone. But I think there's a lot of good people out there. There really are. And
we need to
and we still, yeah, of course, and people that have been in those situations, right? That with abortion, whether involved directly or indirectly, there's things like Rachel's Vineyard.
Sure.
There's some great programs out there to help them get through that, because it's hard, and people that have gone through that feel it years later. They feel the hurt and the pain, and there's a lot of people out there that will support them and help them get through that.
Absolutely.
Because nobody wants to do that, brother. Really, nobody wants to do that. It's just really hard. And what we need to do is we need to provide opportunities for these people to not feel like you're not going to be able to make it. No, we're here to help you. We're help you, give you a helping hand. If you need childcare, we need to find ways to help with the childcare. They need to get an education so they can break that cycle of poverty, if it's even that case. But we see a lot of cases where, no, it's middle class. It's just, practicing like birth control that way, and it's just wrong.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Abortion is something that needs to be tackled. It needs to be regulated. Don't get me wrong. It needs to be regulated.
Yeah.
I've talked to some of the doctors
and
how it was in the past.
Yeah.
Every corner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Girls
and every life is precious.
Yeah.
Just like that developing human being is precious. That mom is also precious, and we need to take care of both of them.
We have to regulate it in some way that if you need it, it's there. It has to be regulated, or else you're going to have a lot of back alley.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that either. We don't want that. So it's about communication. You need to be able to communicate with
there has to be something
yes.
there. And I think we had it right, but like you said, they continue moving to the left. Now we're over here in the front.
It just keeps going. It's either left or right. They just keep pushing it. And it just gets to a point where, like, where are we? How do we arrive at this point? Brother, living here on the right, I'm going to switch gears real quick. Just a quick mention, because we touched on Mexico earlier and the corruption out there, and any elected official has to be corrupt just by its very nature to get into office. You have to be. It's the most corrupt one that gets into office, and God forbid that ever happened here in the United States. But we see some great things coming out of like the USMCA that we may have not seen, because we just think of it as trade, right? But what's the biggest problem in Mexico? There's no middle class. I was talking to a gentleman that was in charge of all the soldiers. He had 1,000 soldiers a couple of years ago in El Laredo, and asked him, bro, I don't get it, man. I don't understand. How is it that you can't beat the corruption? In the United States, they catch whoever's doing the illegal stuff, and they put him in jail, take up all his the wealth that he had accumulated, and they confiscate all that, and it works. We have a working country here of laws. I told him, I don't understand how in Mexico you can't grab a hold of that. He tells me, the problem is, Charlie, is that about roughly 2/3 to maybe 70% of the population are involved. He's like, we do any little movement, they call the narcos, whoever, hey, se están moviendo, hey, acá están, no, oye, acá están. He said, it's really difficult because the whole community is involved. Why, Paul? Why is the community involved? They're poor. There's no middle class. They're poor. So what? Where are they going to get a job? If they have children to feed, it's those narcos that have the money that are paying these people they're on their payroll.
Absolutely. It's a lot easier.
It is. So what happens? You build up the middle class. How? What is the USMCA doing that I thought was amazing? If you're going to be a maquiladora and dealing with the U.S. and with Canada, you need to pay your people a minimum wage of $12 an hour. I thought, my God, that's brilliant. That's going to raise that middle class. Now this person, instead of going and working, they don't want to work with these, with these narcos, with these people doing horrible things. They don't. But that's the only job they can find. But now they got this job that they're making a good wage that can take care of their family, then they're not going to go get those jobs. Then those narcos, all that corruption will be by itself now. Now law enforcement can come in and really do its job. So that's something that when I saw, I thought, man, that's great that they're doing that. That's one way. It's going to take some time, but it's one step and just one thing that needs to be done because Mexico is such a beautiful country, my Lord. The culture, the people, the food, everything, just rich in natural resources. And so I'm so glad that the USMCA passed. And I know there's other things that we can do to just better that.
That needs to happen in Mexico. It has to change, and it's going to come to an abrupt change. And it's been like that for many years, when we need it, and it needs to change. Yeah. And it needs to change, and it needs to change. And let's see how we can do that, and how they can do that. They themselves have to stand up and do it.
Yeah.
And right now, here in the States, we have to pick up the United States back again. We need to pick up Laredo the way it was. Laredo got hit hard. And God forbid it goes 10 weeks like our president-elect is saying, because 10 weeks will kill small businesses here. There's nobody in the city right now that has a capability of bringing back small businesses and moving it forward. Nobody.
Yeah.
If he shuts it down for 10 weeks as he's promising.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. If you're whether you're the business owner or you're an employee, and we saw these two bills passed recently that they were both signed by the president, the COVID stimulus package and the omnibus bill, right? And we see that, with everything that's being done to help small businesses through PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, and some of these other programs, it's so hard, it's difficult for them to actually to be accurate with who they're helping. For example, the $600 where the president said, hey, that's nothing, go to $2,000. These people need more money, right? Obviously. But they're using numbers from 2019. They don't have numbers for 2020. So you can have a family that did real good in 2019 and they don't qualify because their numbers in 2019 were real good. They made over X amount of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. But this year they're not. This year they're suffering. They're part of that, the whole COVID suffering.
They already went down.
They're down.
They're down.
So they're showing that they were making $200,000 last year, and this year they're actually making $30,000 or $40,000. And they don't qualify because of what they made last year. So that's wrong. And I know it's very difficult. How else do you do it, right? But there's got to be some ways where they can target. I know these families are having a really difficult time based on whatever reports that they can generate through unemployment or something, and then they're going to know what families really need to get help. And so that's something they need to really be careful with.
No, they have to.
That omnibus bill, if you look at that, there's approximately around $4 billion going to other countries.
That's what I was talking to several state representatives because I was back this past week because we were working on some issues with parent alienation, the parent courts, and all that stuff. Something that's in our face right now, and it affects everybody.
Sure.
And I said, well, because already one representative, I think there's two that already passed a bill that's going right now before the House for Texas to secede from the Union. Okay, literally. Okay, and they said, we're talking. I was joking around. I go, maybe we should secede from the Union and get paid $1,300,000,000 just like
$1.3 billion
like Egypt. We can use it here in Texas. And he said, you know what? You make sense, but it's true. How about the $1,400,000,000 that's to Asian relations or whatever? Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you look into that, like, why is it? How do you justify getting? Okay, yes, we have people in this country that need help. A lot of people. Education is the best way for people to be able to break their cycle. of poverty. There's some vocational trades, you know, that people can get good jobs. But if you look at how much money is going out, not right now, man. But when you ask them why, and they say things like, well, you know, then we can kind of like influence these other countries and kind of. I hear when I read how they're justifying sending all this money. You're like, you mean you want to go and interfere with their elections? That you want them to go? What we don't want happening to us. We don't want that here in the state. We don't want anybody messing with our elections. We're going to hold our election. Is going to be, American citizens deciding who's going to represent them. And if anybody is like, we even have the slightest thought that somebody's messing with our election, oh, we're furious. Oh my God. But so now you're saying we're giving money to these countries so we can influence their politics, their elections? I mean, come on, let's not be hypocrites here, right? So we understand that there's help needed all around the world. But see, when you give that money, for example, to somebody, who's going to see it? Who's going to regulate it? I hate thinking, brother, about what was it, $2 billion in cash that was flown into Iran, dropped from planes and carts full of hard cash for the Iranian government, that we sent our tax dollars to them? Why? And then why like that? Why in the dark of night where it's hidden, why flown, dropped it in cash? Why would we, the United States, do that with Iran? And these people have been attacking us and supporting terrorist groups for the longest time.
Since right after the Shah. I mean,
because we think we're going to influence them? We're going to convince them? No. There's a lot of corruption there also, and so they're going to take the cash and run with it. You think they're going to go and actually do things? Now, there needs to be a way, and yeah, we try and tie it to, like, for example, Egypt, 1.3 billion. First, it's going to go out 270 million. They make it sound like it's nothing. It's, 250 million that we're going to go for. And then if they can prove to us that they're trying, that they put in efforts to increase things for women and whatever, education, human rights, once they show it, they want to give them more. But what does that mean? We actually need to be, I think if we're going to put so much money into a country, either through our embassies or whatever, we need to actually be out there looking and checking, but you always need to be careful with the corruption. Once there's money involved, look at what happened to the World Health Organization. We're talking about affecting the whole world. Hold on, don't let the whole world know yet that this virus is spreads from person to person. Why? I mean, who bought those guys out? I mean, I think, my personal opinion is they come to these leaders and they tell them that the Chinese Communist government, whomever, hey, if, we're going to give you some money to hold off. And you know what, if you don't hold off, and you don't take the money, we're going to kill you. Or you're going to disappear. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? And that's still wrong, as it may. But there needs to be, checks and balances. How do we make sure that these people, because we've seen it in the United Nations, where there's all kinds of corruption going on in these groups, right? So why should we be so surprised with the WHO? But I'm certain, they knew. The Chinese government knew, but hold off. Don't let them know yet until it was too late. It was already all over the world. Okay, now tell them. It's ridiculous. They knew about this in 2019, October, November. They already knew about this virus. Of course, they knew it was out. They've known about it, way back. It was in their lab. Like I say, why not destroy it? Why do you keep it? Once you get the genome sequence, why do you want to keep this virus in your lab? Destroy it.
You're absolutely correct.
Destroy it.
And how it's affected to everybody, and I hate to say this, we have to stop living in fear. We have to start living.
Yeah.
Or else the precautionary measures are going to be worse than the virus itself.
Yeah.
And that's basically what's going to end up happening here and around the world, unless that's their plan.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's at. I hate to go and dabble on all the conspiracy theories, but the conspiracy theories are sounding better and better now of what's going on than the lies that are being told to us.
Just look at the facts.
You're like, wait a minute, they've known this all along.
Just
and you're telling me that it's,
they know the Wuhan lab. That they came out of there. That we know that. And what's also so sad is that for the last 6-7 years, we've been funding this lab with our tax dollars. We've been funding them. for like 6-7 years, up until like maybe the year before or last year or something. We're still funding these labs. I mean, it's sad, and you would think, again, goes to what we're saying, the government thinking, well, if we give them money, then we can influence them and to do certain things, and they're just corruption. I mean, there needs to be some major reform where not only the elected officials, but their family members cannot receive monies from foreign countries. You know, elected officials submit a report. Did you get any of it? No. But what about their family members? Their immediate family members, spouses, children, that they're going to influence them. If they get money to them, other countries, then they're going to start running this country. This guy out here, what was his name? That had a relationship for a year with this Chinese spy. I mean, come on. I mean, you think, I mean, whatever they were doing, right? The guy falls asleep. I mean, she's a trained Chinese spy, right? And she's not going to go through his, and this guy is the chairman of the intelligence committee? Oh, you can't make this stuff up, right? And he's still there, even though he had a relationship with a Chinese spy for a year. I mean, imagine, he falls asleep. She goes through his computer, finds all this information about our government, about our security.
Where are the checks and balances? You see, that's what happens. Nobody's getting punished for that.
Yeah.
You know, if it was 20, 35 years ago, they would have been lynched or shot. It's happened.
Right.
And the stuff that's happened right now...
Well, maybe further back. Maybe not 20, 30 years. Maybe 100 years.
No, actually, I think around Eisenhower's time, they hung two of them.
Wow.
Okay? A man and a woman for sending stuff out. But anyway, what I'm saying is we need to start literally holding people accountable. And we're not. You see a politician go up there on TV, and he's just lying left and right. And people say, oh, that's what politics is all about. You're like, no, we have to tell them, hey.
Wow. That goes back to like, whoever's more corrupt wins office. Like, whoever's the better liar is going to make it into office. And of course, if the media is backing them up, then that's wrong. That's horrible.
You know, we need to start holding people accountable for their actions. And you know, we can fool man, but the pearly gates you can't fool. You know, at the end of the thing, you know, people are reading this as biblical times. At the end of the story, God wins anyway. So,
right.
So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So. I was having a conversation with somebody, and it went off, and he said, you know, this is biblical times, this revelation's happening right now. And I kind of looked at him and smiled, and you know, I made a joke about it. And he started thinking that he sends me later on a bunch of stuff, and I started. But
just real quick, on a side note, if you really want to know what the book of Revelations is about, there's an amazing book by Scott Hahn called The Lamb's Supper. Scott Hahn used to be a Protestant Christian, and for a lot of his life, he was a pastor. A lot of his life, he was he did a lot of studies. And then he converted into Catholicism when he studied the book of Revelation. And through the teachings of the church going back 2,000 years, because Jesus founded the church. Okay. And so if you look at the book of Revelation, a lot of it has to do what was going on in those first times when John is seeing certain things, and you hear that chime, you know, those three trumpets and whatnot, the trumpets blowing, and that's how they would start mass in the first generation Christians, right? And so he explains everything in this book. It's called The Lamb's Supper, La Cena del Cordero. Amazing book by Scott Hahn. So if anybody really wants to know what the book of Revelation is about, the unveiling, Revelation is actually an unveiling, right? Then that's one book to go to.
Absolutely. That's a good idea. I'll go look it up. But, you know, we're ending a year that was very tragic for everybody. And just wishing everybody for them to kind of stay steadfast, pick your head up.
Yeah.
We're not going under. If people need help. There's a lot of people out there that will help you.
Yeah.
There's more people out there extending their hand, picking up others, and that's the beauty that I've seen.
Yeah.
And 2021 is just around the corner, and I want to wish everybody the best. You know, stay healthy.
Yeah.
Number one, stay healthy. Let's stop the hate. You know what I mean? And let's stop the hate.
The non-tolerating tolerance.
Yeah, let's stop the hate. I'm going to tell you why, because
we need to stop the hate.
You have a lot of small businesses out there, small businesses in this community that have helped for generations. Okay? And guess what happens? The rhetoric that's out there is against small businesses. Hey, let's be positive. Let's go to the meat shops, the local restaurants. Let's start taking your kids back to the boxing gym, the karate schools, the dance studios.
Right.
Let's take them back. Let's not be afraid.
Right.
Let's do it cautiously
Yeah.
and responsibly.
People are smart.
Yeah.
People are smart. Now, look, I'm a science major, right? Major in biology, minor in chemistry. And so I've always been kind of a germaphobe. I think I've ruined, 2 or 3 steering wheels because I would always get in my truck, get the hand sanitizer, and grab my steering wheel. So my whole life I've been aware of the germs, right? And so people, for the most part, are smart. And they know, distance. They know if somebody may have symptoms, or they have symptoms, more importantly, if they have symptoms, not to go to work or not to go out in public. We acting responsibly, we can do it. I think we'd be very effective. I know there's some stuff, California, for example. California had, done a lot of shutdowns already, and right now, boom, it's exploding. Even with all the shutdowns and everything. So there was really no, benefit from there.
Well, it's exploding. Not the businesses, the
virus.
The virus.
The virus. The number of cases, it's sad.
And that's, I don't know. Let me put it to you this way, the virus is real.
It's real, man.
It's real.
I felt it. It hurt.
And we're glad you came out of it. And I don't know if everybody's gotten it, because some people come up and they say, you know what, way back in January, I felt like this, I couldn't do this.
They can get tested. Go see if you have the antibodies.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I said, maybe so. But,
I was talking with my mechanic yesterday, one of my mechanics is working on one of our trucks, and we're both wearing masks, and then I mentioned about the distance, and he was like, look, I've had it twice, but I was asymptomatic twice. I said, well, I had it once and I was not asymptomatic, and it's not fun. Thank God I had medical attention right away. My wife was on it. She was constant communication with my healthcare provider, and I really think they're my heroes, man. Dr. Ornedo and Yoli Siebert at Buitron Medical Center. It's just amazing people. I can't thank them enough. Just amazing, and all those teams in the emergency room, and Dr. Ornedo and all of his people, bro. Just amazing support, and people in general just need to have that relationship with their doctor. You need to have a relationship with your doctor. You need to know who you are, and you need to know them, and you need to see them on a regular basis, because, God forbid, they do get something like that. You need to be aware of it and know what precautions, how are you going to fight it. You need to know the enemy. If the enemy's there, you need to know how to fight them. You need to know how to defeat them, right? And so that's part of being smart. People are smart. They just need to stay on top of that.
Absolutely.
But
glad to see you here.
Yeah, thank you. We're ending the year, and yes, we look forward to New Year, and I was thinking right now, and when you were saying we're going to have a new year, and you start thinking of resolutions, right? New Year's resolutions, and I recently a couple of months ago, started reading an amazing book by Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict XVI, and Jesus of Nazareth is the name of this book. And it's an amazing book, but I usually take about a year to read a book. I read it in moments that I've got time. But
sure.
So I'm going to make it a resolution that I finish this book by spring break. So I make it more of an effort to read. I used to love to read. I used to read a whole bunch growing up as a child. Remember my mom coming into the bedroom, turn off the light. Yeah, go to sleep, because I'd be reading. I love to read. And so it's something beautiful. But this book, Paulie, Jesus of Nazareth by Joseph Ratzinger. The first one, he's got 3 volumes out. The first one, basically the baptism of Jesus, and to his revelation, not the revelation, but it's just an amazing book. Joseph Ratzinger talks about how when he was studying theology, 30s and 40s, you studied about a person in history that existed, Jesus Christ.
Sure.
There are other members And in the Bible that are mentioned, whether it's Herod or Pontius Pilate or other, you look at history books, they're there. Okay? And so what's happened through this really strong evangelical movement in the 60s, maybe not 50s, but 60s and 70s, it's become just all about faith. Okay? And so when you're talking about faith, well, there's some doubt. Because faith is like, I believe, it's not a matter of fact. So what this book is doing is really emphasizing the fact that Jesus existed, walked the earth, and because of that fact, we have our faith. They go together. You can't separate them. Our faith exists because of the fact that Jesus was true. And there was witnesses and everything else beyond that. And so this book does an amazing job of doing that and explaining it. And so I'm like hooked. I mean, it's something I recommended to everybody out there. Jesus of Nazareth by Joseph Ratzinger. It's a great book. So my New Year's resolution is to get that done by spring break and not, my typical year to read a book.
That's that's a good start. That's a good start. Mine is let's try to outreach more. Try to get these kids off the street. That's my main thing back again.
That's a really good one.
That's my goal this year. Just get these kids off the street.
What
I say right now, everybody's in mostly in their houses. But what I mean by the street is let's stop them from drugs and try to outreach them, educate them more into that sense. And if we can get them into sports a little bit different, I'm gonna go back to that.
Yeah.
Go back to that, and that's what you all always supported our programs anyway. So
yeah, we just need to get more involved. Dad needs to get more involved with the children.
Yeah.
That's what you do with your children. You just told me all these animals. You knew exactly which ones your children took down. Okay, how do you know? You're with them. You're spending time with them. So dad needs to have that relationship with their children.
Sure.
The Jesus of Nazareth, Joseph Ratzinger, the baptism to the transfiguration. That's that one. That's the first one. And there's got two more after that. But that's something that maybe we can do as dads.
Sure.
Just say that we will this year, part of our resolution, spend more time with our children, with our family.
Absolutely. Embrace them. Right now's the time for you guys to go hug your parents, hug your kids, hug your family, hug your friends, and say, you know what? We're here. We love you.
Yeah. Just spend time with them.
Because we've lost a lot of people, and people come out and say, well, I wasn't able to say this.
It's so sad.
We don't want that. We want to make sure that we never know.
Yeah.
Let's end this year. Till next year. You guys, click on the subscribe, share away, ask questions. If you all want to, we'll be having some more conversations throughout 21, but ask some stuff. If you guys want to touch base on a subject, we'll find somebody to bring them in.
Can I make a quick point? Just like something I just thought of right now. When you said ask questions, when all this was happening a couple of months ago, and there was at that time 18 members of our family that had COVID, my wife posted asking for prayers. Somebody came on and said, well, maybe you should take this as an opportunity to make a public announcement, something along those lines, to tell people not to get together in big crowds. So this person assumed that we had like a party, and we all got it there. That was absolutely incorrect. We got it at different places. Just so happened that 18 actually ended up being more, like 23 people in our family ended up getting it. But like my sister got it in the valley, I got it here. People got it in different places, but this person just assumed that we had a big party and everybody got it from the same place. I didn't even comment when I saw that. When I saw it, I was sick. I was feeling the virus pretty bad. And so I just ignored it.
I saw, and I'm going to touch base on this, because this goes along with that hate, and then we'll end it on this.
Yes.
I saw, the Laredo Morning Times pops up. Said the city of Laredo is saying not to have restaurants and the curfew from this, and all of a sudden all these hate messages came out. And I'm looking at the whole thing, and I'm working on another project, and we're looking at the whole thing in here, and I said, you know what, who's these people? Where do they work? So I told a friend of mine, I said, and I sent them the link, and I said, right now there's 220 comments. Do me a favor. You take from the bottom up, and I'll take from the top down, all the hate comments, find out where they work. Majority work for the city of Laredo. Webb County. LISD, UISD, these are people that were never affected.
Never affected.
They've never done the payroll. They've never had to sacrifice their own money to pay their employees or to pay rent for something else. They get paid regardless.
Right.
And these are the people that
tax
are
dollars.
these are the people that are telling others to shut down their businesses, to go under because they're afraid.
Yeah.
I understand. It sounds bad, but that's basically what it is.
But we just need to be careful.
Yeah, we need to be careful. Stop living in fear and let's live life.
Amen.
And that's it.
Yeah, scripture. No
Live
fear.
life.
But it's like over 350 times. It's in scripture. No fear. Don't be afraid.
And if you do get sick, we have great doctors. Eventually, probably we already are. Either we have it, we've had it, or we're gonna get it.
They can get tested. People get tested. I tell them, go see if you have the antibodies. If you have the antibodies, you've had it. Now, when you got it, you don't know. You might know, but you don't know for sure. But
And you don't know if you got it. And you don't know if you got it walking the parking lot.
Right. Exactly.
At a restaurant, movie theater, whoever, the checkpoint. You don't know where you got it. In your mail. You don't know.
You don't know.
Or, you don't know. Anyway, folks, till next time. Peace.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitron Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kenpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat, as passed down professor to student.
Hi, I'm Bram Frank. I love martial arts. And over the time, I've met a man who does a martial art that most people don't understand. Most people know about Savate. Savate, they know it with people wearing the gloves and the full dress costume, and it's stunning kickboxing, and it uses the toes, great kicks, amazing pirouettes. But the other side of Savate is that it's true self-defense. It's what gentlemen in France used in the military and people. And Savate is actually a deadly art in some sense, because it teaches use of the cane, the sword, and of course empty hand and takedowns. And Savate looks very much like Salat, sweeps and body control. And if you'd like to learn real self-defense, one of the founders with his whole family of Savate in America is Dr. Paul Buitrón, and he's right in Laredo. And he's international director of Danse de Rue Savate, real Savate, fighting Savate. He also does competition. You can learn to be healthy there. But I highly recommend Savate from Paul Buitrón III. Stunning man. Great classes for women, for children, and for all you tough guys who think you want to learn. And me, I'm getting 67. Savate with all that body motion is great. Go see Paul. Learn Savate.
Hi, all my brothers and sisters out there in Kenpo. This is Jeff Duke Sr. from Detroit, Michigan. This is dedicated to my brother and friend, Paul Buitrón III. He's in Laredo, Texas. His training and devotion to the martial arts, Savate and Kenpo, comes from amazing instructors. Grandmaster Mark Pick, Sifu C, Grandmaster Trejo, and myself. For all you students out there in Laredo, Texas, if you want to keep it real and learn real self-defense, I would look up his school in Laredo, Texas. He always keeps it real, and I keep it real, and I love all of you. Keep it Kenpo.
My name is Jeffrey Finder, and I've been teaching the Filipino martial art of Serrada Eskrima since 1986. Half a dozen years ago, I had the pleasure and privilege of meeting Professor Paul Buitrón here in California, and I've had the opportunity to visit him and his school in Laredo. More than just an impressive and powerful martial artist, Professor Buitrón is one of the most knowledgeable martial artists I know, a wealth of information and an excellent teacher. As one of the foremost experts in Savate, he is a living treasure of that art. It is a rare privilege to be able to train from someone of such high standing and ability, and I heartily endorse him to anyone seeking practical and effective self-defense. Thank you.
Come train at the best-kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savate.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.